So today, slightly different to the last couple of days in that I don't have a huge number of books of this artist's work. Today we are doing Rumiko Takahashi, the artist behind Inuyasha, Ranma Half. Can't remember anything of this. I'll be honest, I don't have any of this work on hand because this is stuff that a friend of mine had back in uni when we had the Anime Society and we were all reading Japanese comics and watching Japanese television. And this was the only name of a creator that actually stuck with me. All the others, I just sort of remember the titles of the mangas, but not actually the person that drew them. So when I was trying to come up with names of artists to replicate, this was high on the list. Just because I wanted to do an anime style day. Now, I've got to say, one of the things that concerns me about anime style in general is that the heads are not the shape of human heads. Oh no. Because if you actually look at where the shape of the head goes, especially on the ones that turn sideways like this head shape comes up here and kind of wanders off up that way as if there's a huge globular head there. Which means, and I'm going to do a little doodle of this, that theoretically that neckline comes down there and then it just kind of goes out to a big orb like that. Like that's, if that's where the hairline is. And the hair comes down here. And there's your big eyes. Like the head shape is all out of whack. So unless that literally goes like straight in there then like as a really sharp brow line. It almost seems like, and this one as well, it sort of comes up here and you'd expect there to be like a domed head inside all of that. Which doesn't make a huge amount of sense to me, unless the head is tilted forwards, which I'm not sure it's meant to be. But I'm doing two references today. I'm going to start with the reference photo of myself from Self-Portrait Day, because it's one of the few neutral faces I've got, which is firstly, it's in 3/4, which is good. Secondly, it's just a sort of neutral expression, which is okay. And thirdly, I feel like if I'm drawing them as anime characters, they're not going to look that much like the people they're meant to be. Like this here, I included this one because although this is the chibi style characters, that's meant to be a picture of Rumiko herself. And honestly, that face doesn't look too different to the other faces on this page. Maybe that's just me being prejudiced against anime or something, but I do find that there's not a huge amount of variation in anime faces. Like, if you look at this guy's brows and this guy's brows, they could be related. You know, I mean, these two, obviously, they are the same character. Spoilers. But yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going on that I'm not sure I'm going to be able to capture, and there's a lot not going on that I might end up capturing. So it's going to be interesting. You notice, whereas yesterday we had the huge, well, not grin, the huge frown on the mouth. In this, the mouths are so small that they fit entirely between the eyes. So, with the head tilted this way, if we have a kind of... I'm doing two faces again today, much like I did on the Rachel Smith day. Not because I think it's going to be simple, but rather because I think I'm not going to spend an hour doing hatching. So, if you look at the sort of the shape of the face, it is like that kind of globular face with a kind of extended part below, and that's kind of it. That's like the head shape there. I'm suddenly very nervous about whether or not this is recording. Well, the screen's off, but I'm going to assume it's recording. So yeah, the head shape is literally like, it's just like a little nubbin on the bottom of a circle. And then the eyes kind of coming around here. And the spacing on the eyes is interesting. With the head turned this far, like, my temptation is always to make eyes wider than they are tall. But as you see in anime, the eyes are normally taller than they are wide. fact, that one's practically circular, and there's a lot more foreshortening than I would expect to see. So if the center line of the face kind of comes down here, that eye pretty much runs almost completely up to it. So the eye here would be around this size, and you have the underline of the eye there, the overline of the eye there, and kind of round it in. So that's the first eye, and then you have essentially just that as a nose, which I know for my huge hooter that seems ridiculous, but it's the noses are always like pointed, if they're even present. Like I don't even know what shape I would draw for that. At least for these two characters, there is like an actual peak to the nose on some of these, which I'm tempted to go for because that's like the biggest the nose can get in anime. So, and then you would have the mouth here, and the mouth, as I say, it fits almost entirely within there. So like, if that's kind of the curve of that part of the face, and that's the second eye here, don't worry, I'm going to neaten this up. This is just for getting the spacing correct. That's kind of the second eye there, which then has a... It's all about like the top and the bottom eyelids, and the rest of it is sort of... It's almost invisible sort of thing. You see you've got the top eyelid, this little bottom bit. This is almost how I drew the eyes on my my day of doing sort of self-created, imagined faces, you know, the first week when I was just doing it Happy Little Trees style. So like this is how the hair would have to look in that case. Maybe come down a bit there, come over there, and then you've got this really tall looking pupil style, which actually suddenly makes that look a whole lot better. I feel a whole lot better about that now that I've done that much. So this sort of, it's almost a pointed chin, like the faces are so angular. So this cheek comes out, that goes up to there, the hair comes in there, and then you have I'm going to just tease the paper out of here a little bit so I can actually get the back end of this hair on. So this hair comes down here, and you can sort of, if I just follow that curve, you can sort of see that would come down there as that tucks into there. So this is if I'm following the way that I would draw my own hair in this picture. But the way in which the anime hair works is that it kind of has these, it's always spiked. Like this would come down into fronds like this. So you'd have a sort of larger frond there and then a few smaller ones. It's just kind of choppy. So just as a kind of, try to make a more exact outline of what I'm drawing here. The small face, that comes up to there. Neckline here, hair down to here-ish. That comes in front. Let's get the eraser. So this comes down to here, that goes down to there. So that goes to there, and there's more there. So this style of shading the hair, I suppose that the best way to see it is kind of, it's on this one here and this one here, that you kind of, you follow where the hair would be going. So if the hair is flowing this way, you go kind of right angles. So the hair here is flowing this way, so you would go a right angle there. It doesn't go all the way to the edge though, so you'd have kind of that shape and another one here. but that has to cut off before the ends, and that has this kind of, has to follow this angle follows the flow of the hair, but not that much. It's very sort of, yeah, if you do it like this and then reduce the size of the peaks to get it right. So the hair is flying this way, so these peaks would come like that, I guess. I guess so. And then this hair comes down to here. And this hair comes down to here. So secondary shine on some of the long hair is in this kind of curl here. So that would be where, well, no, you wouldn't get that there because that's the darker part. And perhaps a little bit just sort of there. And then you very much have the large iris, small pupil, and it's got the double eye shine on all of these pictures. They all have the double eye shine, by which I mean you have like the lighting's coming from this side in this picture. I'm going to try and at least, you know, sometimes I use my hand to try and rub out the pencil. It's ridiculous how that happens. So I need to make sure that I get those the same size, because if they're not the same size, they're going to look weird. So yeah, one problem, get rid of that. The eyes in this picture, although the face is facing this way, the eyes are looking straight at me. So this one needs to be further over here. You can kind of imagine that these eyes form a capsule shape. That's why they curl down at the edges. So this one will be straight down the centre, looking directly at me. Whereas this one, because the face is this way, will be looking slightly there. Make that a bit larger. And we have the shine there and there, shine there and there. See, now I can't. It's going to have to be this one, isn't it? It's going to have to be this sort of the full dark part above the eye, because we're doing it only black and white. In these one here, it's the same kind of effect that you have this. It's a lot darker up near the top, and it sort of cuts out. So what you end up having is an eye shape that sort of looks like that. That's the eye shape you end up with. And then, yeah, this is going to be just the worst weeb image. I can't apologise enough for this. I'm already starting to regret the fact that I said I was going to do two, because that's meant to be a really big smile, and none of, like, even the biggest smile on here is that, which doesn't seem a big enough. Like that's a larger smile, but even that is like. It's nothing compared to the. No, that's all wrong. So the smart, like this is the chin here. So the center of the mouth has to go there. Do I want to add a lip? Some of these characters do have a lip line. But it's all done with colour, it's not done with like, oh, except... I don't even know this character's name. I think it may be Lum, but that might be wrong. This when all my anime fan friends are going to go, ah! Stace, what are you doing? You're appropriating a whole culture here. I'm not. I'm just trying to draw in an art style, and it's all bad. But like, my attempts to do my own art culture is bad as well. Like, I don't think I did a great job of copying the style of Rachel Smith, and she's from Yorkshire, and I'm from Yorkshire, so it's not like. See, I feel like I should go up higher there. Oh God. That's the mistake I'm making, is that this should come up higher this side. Not that side. Right. Okay, we're taking this to ink. This first one's going to be a shit show, and I know that, and I've made peace with that and comes to terms with that. So this first one is going to be an absolute shit show. Now, one thing I've noticed actually is that the neck here, like all these characters have, like particularly in the sideways ones, the neck is almost like on the chin, whereas here you actually can't make out the neck because it. But here well, maybe that is the neckline. You know what? Let's stop second guessing ourselves. We're just gonna ink it in and see what happens. And I'm gonna start with the nose. Oof, God help me. See, these all have variable line width. Actually, do they have variable line? No, they don't have a variable line width. They've got some thicker lines than others, but as a rule, the lines tend to stay the same thickness all the way along. So I'm not as worried about that now. Okay. So let's get these eyes out of the way. At least the main size of them. So you always have a thicker line on the top. Nice if that was a uniform thickness. Right then, let's get this right. We need that part, and then we need this part. It looks kind of wrong, but I think it's okay. I think it's okay. Now you notice that my eyes do actually go up a little bit in the corner here, so I'm actually going to emulate one of the things that you can see on some of these images, particularly in the feminine eyes, where you have a little flick up just at the edge there. I'm just going to add that. Yeah, there we go. So, edge of the face comes down. Now you'll notice that these have sharper angles than this. But the reason for that is because I have quite a fat face and quite a big chin. And so I've softened off some of those curves a little. And it's not because I got it wrong. It's because I was even more right than you thought I was going to be. So I feel like to do proper anime style, this needs to have a little bit of extra hair that kind of, just a little flick like that, just to do it properly. I need a little extra point, as it were, just to show that it's got a kind of unruliness to it. And this comes down here, and blends in with the hair that comes down from here. So that is going to go all the way up to the ear. Which so they all have hair coming down to block off this bit of ear. I suppose that's kind of what this part here is, blocking it off, but I feel like I should do that to properly identify where the edge of the ear lies. Yeesh. Let's get that shading in there. So come on, we can do this. And a little bit down here. Okay. Now a lot of this has been for naught because we're going to fill this in now to show these shiny spots off. Copying the in-page style of it, as it were. Because like a lot of these that I've got here, they're cover images. When you search for images by Rumiko Takahashi, what you tend to find is the larger art book pieces, the front covers of the mangas. You find a lot of fan art, which is annoying. So, I mean, I can't 100% guarantee that these are all Rumiko Takahashi's art. This may have been drawn by somebody else to illustrate an article about her. So that's why I've not referenced this one particularly heavily. But I'm fairly certain that this one, and this one are definitely her. That one is probably her. And I'm fairly sure that one is as well. At least the foreground characters are, these two. That one, not so sure. So I should also do eyebrows. Now the female characters always have thin eyebrows. Don't know why. Just the style of the time, I guess. The style of anime at the time. I keep saying anime. I do know the difference between anime and manga. I know that anime is when it's animated, and manga is when it's a comic book. But because the styles of anime characters tend to... Oh shit, what have I done there? Because the styles of anime characters tend to be based on the mangas that they're from, they're kind of interchangeable in terms of art style. And I know that this sort of stereotypical big eyes, small mouth, it is a stereotype, and I know there are other kinds of manga, and I know that there are other kinds of anime. But this is sort of the classic style that I liked when I was in uni. Not classical style, which I know again is different. Like this is the style that anime took after the Western influence post-World War II. That's me showing off a bit of history cred. Because we had a meeting once at the Leicester Anime and Manga Association, or LANMA, which went into the history of Japanese art and how giant robots were actually a sort of cipher for the atomic bomb. But all the weird pervy stuff you get in Japanese art, always been there. Always been there, just like it's always been in every kind of art. Just like you can find, you know, people shoving fish up their asses in Hieronymus Bosch paintings. There are, like, classic ancient Japanese paintings which depict all the tentacle stuff and all the rude things and, you know, all the freaky monster girl stuff that we think is such a modern creation. Nah. All that stuff, always been there. Always. I can just tell I'm going to start wearing down this pen again now. This is the problem when you start inking hair. I was watching another one of those, I mentioned that I watched videos by Terry Moore, and he was talking about how he inks with a brush. And I got to say, it does look, you know, it looks amazing when you do it right. When he does it right, it looks amazing. And I say when he does it, it looks amazing. To my understanding, he's never done it wrong, and presumably he did it wrong at some point in time. But you know. That's what I keep telling myself, is that all these amazing artists, the Rumiko Takahashis and the Shannon Wheelers and the Rachel Smiths, they all had a period when they looked as naff as I draw. And worse, probably, because I'm fairly sure I used to be worse than this. And you've got to keep telling yourself that. You've got to keep saying, you know, I used to be worse, now I'm better, I will be better still in the future. And hopefully you'll be right. And of course, for most of these artists, you never get to see their early work. You never get to see their bad phase. Unless they're so incredibly popular that they become like an institution, and then their early work is sought after, in much the same way that Quentin Reviews looked into the history of Jim Davis. Well, I've got to say, every time I say his name, I feel the temptation to say Jim Davison. Because Jim Davison is a comedian in the UK. And I'd say comedian with heavy quotation marks. It's not my cup of tea at all. But yeah, Jim Davis. Quentin Reviews went and found like his hometown, where he used to publish a small newspaper cartoon about, I think the characters were like fleas or bugs or something. And then some of the jokes got repurposed into the comic that he's much more well known for. Which is, to my understanding, at least semi-autobiographical, which is weird. So there's image 1. I'm going to save rubbing off the guidelines until I've finished everything, because it always looks worse when I take the guidelines off. I don't know why, but it always does. So that was image 1. Nice plain neutral face. This is image 2. This is Becky again. And I've picked their open mouth thing because anime characters tend not to open their mouths very wide. And I thought it'd be a really fascinating challenge to copy this appearance in this style. It's probably going to look terrible, but also it has lighter hair in the picture. They do have the darker hair here. But here it's been bleached out. So it's going to be more this style than this style. More this kind of appearance than this kind of appearance. And that's why I wanted this picture. Because this picture has a character whose hair is dark in some places, light in others. This is how it's identified on the page. That's what I want to do with this hair. Am I up to the challenge? Probably not. Let's begin. So again, let's go with a big wide head. In this one, you can actually see how it kind of goes in there. And has the... No, I'm thinking too Western animation style. Anime style, this comes out to a point, goes to a point there, and then comes back. You have nose here, you have eyes here, you have mouth here. That one's practically circular, this one is... This head's turned further this way, so I need to accurately handle that. So the nose here it's almost like right up against that. Now the temptation is to do a much wider open mouth, but like, how do anime characters shout? It just makes the mouth like a triangle. Like, it should just be like that. That can't be right. That can't be right. Is that right? Like, just that. And then you'd have, these would be much higher up like this. Have the arches, more kind of the 3 lash style for this, because you can see they've got the higher lashes than I have. Looking kind of up and this way, so let's remove that, because this eye should be looking over here. Why do I get a Sonic the Hedgehog feel from this face? But again, we're going to go for that appearance. And high arching brows this time. How do the eyebrows actually structure on these faces? That's the problem, there's so little structure on the face. That's the top line, that's the bottom line, that's your brow. But now, herein lies the problem, because their hair would kind of come like that. And that gives you this great big forehead, which anime characters like have, but it's always covered. There is this little tuft of hair here. So maybe if I kind of extended that out that way a little bit, it would look odd, but it would look anime, and I think that's okay. Like if that's anime style, that I can do that. And then this comes over here. At least there's no ear on this one. And then you have kind of the darker area here, leading down to the... See, it's almost like individual fronds that come up, and so this section comes out like that. So your hairline is... Oh, this is going to look terrible. Like I say, I have to make peace with that fact, that this is going to look terrible. This kind of comes up like that, that kind of goes down. I need to get that curl in there, because that shows the shape of what is going on here. And this sort of disappears under this part, which is weird, but I think it's going to be okay. I can't wait to show this to Vicky. Vicky has spent a lot of time in Japan and should theoretically know what good manga should look like. And it probably doesn't look like this. Oh god. Right, so nose first, as always. And I'm going to do the mouth next, because it feels like the mouth is probably the easiest win on this one. Do they have a... I mean, that one kind of has teeth, but... Ugh. I feel like I don't want to draw any of it. Like today's whole challenge day, I feel like I don't want to draw any of it. None of these characters have their hair pulled back. I don't know what this hairline here would look like. Would it just look like a line? I know that from this point on, a little bit of extra chin fold there. Sorry, Becky. This part comes down to here. This part comes over here and down. Let's get these eyes in. At least the one good thing about them having this thicker line on their eyes, and I mean all the Japanese characters, all the anime type characters have a thicker line on the top of the eyes, that if you get it slightly wrongly positioned, you can like go back and change it a tiny bit just to get it right. Can't do that with many other styles of art, like, oh, that's telling me I need to take my pills in, well, now. But I'm going to do this first because I am the consummate professional. I wonder if I don't need that. I do need that line, don't I? Just to show me where the bottom of the eye is. I worry that that looks wrong, but I'm going to go with it anyway, because they all have a bottom line on the eye. Just because all of them have the pupil fill the eye. Actually, no, if you look at that one there, the bottom line doesn't. So, but what it does do is curl up inwards a little bit, just to show that the eye does have a shape to it. Yes, let's go with that. And so then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 like that, and sort of, oh god, that's very wrong, but let's go with it. So the idea there was to kind of try and key them in like sawtooth blades, which I have successfully done there, but not here. I guess that's as pointy as it can get with this pen. Let's get the brows in next. Another fault of manga. Thick eyes on male characters. Sorry, thick brows on male characters, thin brows on female characters. Non-binary characters? Who knows? Let's give a bit more thickness there, just to... Yeah, there we go. Non-binary representation right there in those eyes. I am a groundbreaking artist. Now, that probably looks a bit weird from the way I've drawn it there, but I have a theory that this is going to look amazing when I've filled in the dark parts. Because I think the problem here is that I was too methodical about it, and it left it looking a bit overly geometric. And I feel like I'm against the clock because I hit snooze on my pill alarm. And I know it's going to go off in about 9 minutes. And drawing against the clock is never good because it makes you want to cut corners. It makes you get things wrong. Whereas what you should be doing is taking time to get all the little edges right. Happy little trees and all that. There's no bright part there, is there? Just realised I never finished filling this in. Tempted to add a little bright part here just in case, because I know that if need be I can take it out again because it's just be filling it in with the black ink. I don't know how they do this actually. I mean how Becky themselves does it, because it's dark on the inside, but it's light on the outside, which is why when they sweep it back like this, you see the dark part here, the light part here. I don't know whether that, and it's dark in here as well. So like, if it was just dark in the top bit, I'd know how they did that because I colour my hair. I've had my roots grow out. I know what that looks like. But the fact that it's dark on the inside edges as well kind of throws me. I don't know how that's done. So here, where the hair kind of comes... Oh no, that was very bad. So what we're going to do is have another thing there so that we can fill that in. You see what I did there? That's called cheating. Little technique there from me to you. Where if you get an outline wrong, but you're going to fill it later, just fill it straight away and work the fill out to where the outline should be. Nobody will ever know what you did. Let's get the back line of this hair out. And of course some of this coming down here is actually dark. So let's fill that now as well. Yeah, I think that's it. So let's erase some of these lines and see what monstrosity I've created away from the safety of guidelines. I know there's some large inked areas. I'm trying not to catch those on the edge of the eraser, because if I go over a large inked area, I start to pick up, black rubber shavings on the bottom of the eraser. but I have to go over it eventually, so... There's my 10 minutes. Gotta do it again. I mean, the pills thing isn't super urgent. Like, as long as I take them within the hour. You know, they have a kind of a time over which they will build up in your system and wear out in your system, like a half-life. So it's not like it goes from, oh, it's pill time, from this point on I am slowly dying. It's just as time ekes forward, I am slightly less and less protected from the nightmare scenario of slipping into tachycardia. Right, there was one extra thing I wanted to add to this. Where was it? It was here. I wanted to add this darker section where the hair kind of has a... Has that wrecked it? Maybe. Possibly. Maybe not. I think that's good. I can live with that as a result. Septemberk 24. Anime Day. So tomorrow is Jim Davis Day. See you then.